Welcome to another SPbN production. The following is rated for mature audiences and may contain graphic themes that will be distressing to some viewers. As always, we recommend you ensure the safety and well-being of yourself and those around you at all times. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good evening and welcome to the St. Pete by Night Entertainment Network. St. Petersburg by Night is an online World of Darkness role-playing community originated in St. Petersburg, Florida, and now spreading to the world at large. My name is Kent, also known as Misha Kent on all social media, and I will be your storyteller tonight. And it's Sunday night, and you know what that means. It's time for Red Tide Rising, our Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition chronicle set in the city of Tampa, Florida, where a young coterie of Anarch kindred, a quickly diminishing coterie of Anarch kindred, attempt to carve out a piece of the city for their very own while combating the threats of the Camarilla and the looming presence of Guru in the area. But before we get to all that, I'd like you to go follow St. Pete by Night on all of the social media you see down below. And if you really like what you see, join the Discord community by following that Discord link where you can join over 150 community members who love the world of darkness and love talking about it. So come join us today. And if you really, really, really like what you see, go sign up for the Ko-fi down below to help support this program, this channel, and this community. We offer all kinds of extras, including behind the scenes content like Rosebud Thorns, sneak peeks to early access to artwork, and merch discounts, and much, much more. So go sign up for the Ko-fi today. Now, of course, it would take a pretty impressive cast of characters to make this story possible, so let's go ahead and introduce those characters now. Players, go ahead and introduce yourselves, if you please.
What's up, my egomaniacs? It's Ace. I hope you're strapped in because it's going to be a bumpy one today, and I play Beau Walker, Toreador.
And I am Scott. I play Jeremiah the Malkavian, reminding you that anarchy means no rulers, not no rules.
Unfortunately, our dear Echo, aka Finn, is unable to join us this evening. They're feeling under the weather. We hope that they get better soon so that they can be back with us next week. That being said, let's get everybody caught up as to where we are now. Last week, we saw Jeremiah have a meeting with Solomon in advance of their trip to Elysium to decide and kind of catch Solomon up on how things are going, as well as receive any advice that they can get before heading into such a tense and potentially dangerous situation. After that, we saw Beau have a run-in with their child sister, Bethany, childer sister, not child sister, like they're not actually a child, they're grown up. But regardless, childer sister Bethany, that was very tense as Bethany had some choice words for Beau in regards to their absentee parentism as a sire, and how they did not feel that it was appropriate to be judged for their activities or what they were doing if they were going to be left to their own devices most of the time anyway, and not be brought to be involved in the coterie business. Then we saw Jeremiah introduce Finn to Skeeter officially at the Extra Life, where Finn got to learn a little bit more about the Ratkin, about the Guru, about the world of darkness in general, and there was some philosophical discussion had about the future of, well, plainly put, the world of darkness as a whole, and what the possibilities were for cohabitation, potentially the revealing of kindred kind to humans, and how that might not be the best idea ever, and that if you really want vampires to blend well with humans, you should just wait it out until the blood is thin enough that they basically are humans, was kind of what it came to. After that, we saw the coterie go to Elysium in downtown Tampa, where they received a very unexpected welcome from the Prince of Tampa, who was willing to offer them several very, very tantalizing deals in exchange for their cooperation and support against the werewolves. But they refused pretty much outright, handily, to the prince's face to accept any of those deals. However, some information came to light. For example, the fact that Beau has been the leak the entire time, which does make one wonder how and what happened. And does Beau, seemingly not aware of it at all, raises even more questions as to how this information has been getting into the hands of the Tampa Camarilla. It also a little bit showed the Cam's hand in regards to the werewolves and the fact that they are clearly very worried about the werewolf presence in the city and what it could mean for the future of the kindred. Is this an advantage for the Anarchs, or just one more thing to be worried about, as a very twitchy Camarilla is never a good thing? That being said, Jeremiah tries to spread his influence even more as he goes to meet with the Ventrue Baron of Dunedin in tonight's first scene. In our first scene of the evening, we find ourselves on the west coast of Florida, on the west coast, more specifically of Pinellas County, in the beautiful, albeit small, town of Dunedin, which is just slightly north of Clearwater, near the border, as it has been said, between the St. Petersburg Camarilla and the Anarchs. So being this close to the border does provide some benefits on keeping eyes on that local Camarilla, but also some drawbacks, as they would be the first target should the Camarilla decide to make moves. We find ourselves at a beachside bar with a balcony that overlooks the water, and more particularly the boat port of Tampa, with long decks stretching out and schooners and sailboats moored along the docks themselves. And in this beachside bar, we find Jeremiah arriving to meet with Jacob Browne, the Ventrue Baron of Dunedin. So Jeremiah, I'm going to ask, going into this scene, what's going through your mind as you prepare for this meeting?
Jeremiah, he kind of prioritized this meeting because he really needed something of a palate cleanser from everything that's been happening, which is kind of weird to think about, but that's how Jeremiah minds work. This is anarch politics. This is what his bread and butter is. So that's why he kind of pushed up the timeline for this meeting. As for meeting with Baron Browne specifically, he is actually trying to keep an open mind here. He has his own biases regarding Clan Ventrue, and Solomon and Sebastian both had some very derogatory things to say about Ventrue Anarch, Ventrue Baron, former Camarilla, how much can we actually trust them? And while Jeremiah shares those concerns, he is trying not to let them dominate his opinion a priori. He wants to get a read on this guy to see how he thinks he is.
So as you enter into the restaurant, it's well after closing time, but that doesn't seem to have any effect on the fact that business is still prepared to take place here. You see that there is clearly a ghoul bodyguard of some kind waiting at the door, a pretty nondescript individual who's dressed in a suit, but not one of those fancy tailored suits that you saw a lot of at the Elysium. This is more just like a sport coat, a turtleneck shirt underneath, some basic, actually just wearing jeans and shoes, so that they look like they could blend in with a more casual, relaxed environment, but still show the refinery of Ventrue expectation, at least the minimum of Ventrue expectation. They say very little other than, you're here to meet with Mr. Browne. You confirm, and they lead you through the restaurant towards one of the tables that is actually on this balcony overlooking the water. Now, there has been a lot of rainstorms recently, but this has been a nice break in the storm for this particular meeting. So as you're led out onto the docks, you can feel the cool breeze blowing in off of the Gulf. You can see the water splashing up against the beach, barely lit by whatever ambient light is coming from the buildings along the shore, looking out over a sea of black. Other than the stars and the moon up above, it is just an inky abyss out there the further out you look. Sitting at the table is a man who looks to be in his possibly mid-30s. He's wearing a sport coat of his own, but surprisingly, he's wearing a baseball cap with the Texas Rangers logo on the cap itself. He has a button-up shirt, but no tie underneath the sport coat. He has sat at the table, and as he stands up to shake your hand, you can see he is also wearing jeans and what appears to be pretty casual dress shoes. But he gives your hand a good squeeze, and he says, "Well, howdy, Jeremiah. Nice to meet you. Have a seat."
Nice to meet you as well. I actually wanted to have this meeting a lot sooner, but things keep cropping up. You know how it is.
Well, it's a busy time for us all in the city as of late, what with werewolves running around and the Camarilla getting their panties in a breech, and you know, this is how business goes. But I'm really glad we could make this happen.
This is a nice bar you got here. I like the ocean view.
Oh, this isn't mine. I just rented out the place for the meeting. I mean, I suppose
Still.
all of this is mine in a way, but I don't really think of it that way. I'm just endorsing the local community and putting some money back into circulation.
Yeah, I always like to say it's a good idea to keep in your mind that it's not ever really ours. It's the humans. We're just
Exactly.
here- we're just along for the ride.
Doesn't mean we can't benefit from it, though.
Oh, no, absolutely not. And vice versa, you know, if we're feeling scrappy.
Well, you keep the herd happy, then it means happy kindred life, right?
Yep. So, yeah, I really wanted to get a sit down, get a face to face, trying to meet all the big movement figures in the area. Had a meeting with your neighbor a while back, Sebastian.
You see his expression change almost immediately, as if he'd just taken a bite of a lemon. Like, it's just obviously soured. He's not even trying to disguise the fact that he has nothing good to say about his flowery neighbor to the north, but he just says, "Well, that's good. I'm glad that you're getting a very good perspective on all of the baronies along the coast here. Speaking of movers and shakers, you're making quite a name for yourself. I keep hearing tidings out of Tampa and the work that is happening over there, the tumult, as it were. How are you faring those stormy seas?"
Oh, well, you know how it is, knocking back and forth. It's going well. I mean, forward progress if it's a little rocky and slow. But, you know, all things being equal, we've got the time, don't we?
That we do. Long-term investment is a key strategy to the success of any kindred area I have found. And there are times to make noise, and then there are times to stay as quiet as the grave.
Oh yes. I long for a quiet period, but I don't think we're gonna get one anytime soon.
I have my doubts.
So, if you heard about me, you may know that I'm, well, at least I style myself something as a movement strategist. You know, getting the wheels spinning together, getting everyone working, at least moving in the same direction, if at all possible. Trying to smooth out differences, figure out where we can help one another. That's kind of my thing. Yeah. What are your troubles?
Troubles? Well, I suppose our neighbors to the northeast are all of our troubles eventually. I'm hoping not to get on their radar anytime soon. But I suppose my first question for you would be, how are you handling having such feral company nearby?
Ooh, that's a big one. That's a big one. I think if we play our cards right, we can reach a situation where we can get them to understand that for all of the things they don't like about our kind in general, it's magnified 100-fold with the Camarilla. That we can try and find a place where we stay. When I'm saying we, I mean the Anarch movement in general. We stay lower on their priority list, maybe even finding a way to throw in with their bigger struggles, the ones that aren't face forward with us, prove our utility, and hopefully reach a form of detente. I know it sounds a little reckless, but I've been making slow but some progress on that front.
Would you say that it's more of an enemy of my enemy is my friend type situation?
I think at least to start with, I think that's how it's shaping up.
What are you thinking long term?
Well, kind of like I said, find a way to stay lower on their priority list, which in many ways involves keeping to the Masquerade, just with a little bit more diligence, in terms of, not letting the beast get too out of hand on a sort of a general sense. And like I said, proving that we can be a help and not just a hindrance in some ways. Obviously, we're not going to fight their fucking battles, which what I've learned of their battles, I want nothing of.
And you're not worried about a dog biting the hand that feeds it situation?
It's certainly a concern. I think we're going to have to play fast and loose if we can get into that sort of long-term detente situation. Limit our involvement, only interact when it's deeply necessary, or we find ourselves a prime opportunity to be, seen as the useful ones.
And what about their intentions for the area? Do you have any clue as to what it is they're trying to accomplish, what it is they want? Because I know that some of us are in certain trades that might not be looked highly upon by our more lupine neighbors.
I think that there's going to be, at some level, always some incompatibilities. I think our best bet, if we want to try and keep out of their sniff radius, as it were, is just do what we always do. Make it discreet. Make what we do that they're gonna have an issue with quiet, out of sight, and hope that their own issues are gonna take precedence. Which, like I said, they've got a mountain of troubles that have nothing to do with us.
For now.
For now. Well, I don't know how deep you want to get into it. I've actually have a pretty good line of information about their side of the street. And from what I can tell, they're kind of fighting an eternal, ever-losing battle with the concept of entropy.
All right. And that doesn't worry you?
I mean, yeah. In what way? I mean,
Well, I suppose when you're on the losing end of a fight, that tends to make one more reckless and desperate and potentially aggressive. A backed animal into a corner, so they say.
no, you're not wrong. It's definitely, like I said, we have to play light on our feet. The fact of the matter is that by all reckonings, they're the dominant force in this region. The cam in Tampa is on the back foot, and they're very, very nervous about that whole situation. Anarch, we're getting by as we can. We're just kind of getting started in Tampa. So I think it's wise, at least for now, to keep communication open, while also preparing to go to ground if they do get backed into that corner and decide to lash out at the easiest opportunity.
For someone who's just getting started in Tampa, you must have made an impression. Tell me about your recent visit to Elysium.
News does travel fast, doesn't it?
You keep eyes where eyes are necessary.
It was what they're best at, I think. A nice bit of theater. They came offering, all the things that they do when they're not in a position of dominance, temporary cooperation, leave to operate within their certain boundaries, so long as we, turn our backs on our brethren and give up information that I think they already probably had. So I think it was just more of along the lines of trying to get us to, betray each other, weaken our position.
Or to use you as a meat shield between you and the dogs.
Yeah. I very politely told them where they could shove it.
As I would expect you would. I hope you do not hold my clanmates' behavior against me.
No, in the Anarchs, we try and keep clan out of it. Although, I will admit, I've heard some concerns on that line.
From Sebastian?
Well, some Sebastian and from others. You have to admit, there is a strong inclination of your clan towards the way the Camarilla tends to do things. That actually brings me up. I would like to know a little bit more about you. Tell me your story. How did you come to the movement?
Well, I am what one would call new money, so to speak. I happened to strike it rich with some oil out in Texas. And after realizing the stiff competition, to say the very least, out in that area coming out of San Antonio and Dallas, I found it best to relocate and reassign my assets into other opportunities, as it were. But I happened to have made such a mark as a human, it garnered the attention of my clan, needless to say, and after a courtship period in their ranks, I found that I did not necessarily like the idea of just being another's pawn, being subjugated, as it were. That instinct in the blood to control, to rule, as it were, it's a little bit more thick with the older ones. For those of us who have grown up in a more modern society, we understand that humans especially buck the idea of leadership and subjugation, of being ruled. Well, at least directly. And that there are multiple ways to have influence without being considered a tyrant or a ruler. So I have diversified myself in such a way that I can feel secure, but also recognize the turning of the tide of things. I believe that the movement has the right of it, the idea that the old ways are no longer as valid as they once were, and frankly, there's no better way than to spit in the eyes of the ones that made you, than to show that you are not willing to follow in their footsteps.
Can I make a insight roll to see
Sure.
how walk the walk this guy is?
Yeah. What's an insight?
I will surge the blood because I do really want to get a good roll on him. Okay, the hunger goes up. And I will have had heightened senses up since it's so dark. So 5. 9 successes with a critical. 2 criticals.
As far as I can tell, he is kind of laying it out flat, straight up. He's not being deceptive in any way. I mean, you could definitely tell that those Ventrue impulses are there, but he seems to be going about it in a way that is clever. Having people in your employ, for example, is a good way to lead and to rule without being an iron fist. He seems to be taking a more, I suppose, cleverly manipulative and subtle way towards rule and leadership that isn't in contradiction with what the movement stands for. He is less worried about ruling kindred and is more interested in potentially having influence or some control over at least the humans within his own domain.
Okay. All right. And Jeremiah will kind of like nod in a very like understanding, like, sympathetic way. He's like, okay. And what about the kindred who are in your area? How you getting along with them?
Well, so far so good. I mean, obviously many of them have bucked at the idea of having a Ventrue Baron. I know that it is still a very new notion, despite the waves a certain Baron out in LA is making in the Valley. Still, there is some adjustment necessary, but when they see how accommodating and welcoming Dunedin can be, it's put some minds at ease for the most part. Of course, there are those who still think that they can make a play and try and take what does not belong to them. But to be fair, it hasn't always belonged to me either. I had to make a play of my very own to establish myself here. So I do not fault them for that, but I do not discriminate against them either. And for the most part, as long as they behave themselves and don't threaten what we're trying to build here in terms of the Masquerade, I leave them to their own devices. I let them set up shop in their own little neighborhoods, as it were, as long as they abide and cooperate. I think it's mutually beneficial to all of us.
That sounds good. Sounds like you got a good basis going on. And you know what? Well, while we're on the subject, I want to float something by you. It's something that I'm workshopping, talking out. I think eventually there's going to come a point when, the local, movers and shakers of the movement are going to come together at a big old table and have a talk about long-term strategy and the like. But something that's always gotten in my craw is how we the form of how we organize ourselves. Like, I get why we started with the term baron and barony, but I don't understand why we're clinging to a feudalistic notion of organization.
Well, if I had to guess, and I agree with you, it is outdated. I am a child of the 90s, a kindred of the 90s, as it were, and I agree that it is an outdated term. I think that we hold on to such ideals because we are trying to make it understood to the old as well as the young. Everybody understands the idea of a feudalistic society, despite the fact that we no longer exist in one. It is kind of universally understood, even for kindred from other countries who might find themselves upon our shores. I don't see any use for it. While I do take pride in the idea that I am a baron, it is a title I accept only because it needs accepting. If I don't, someone else will. And I am not interested in finding out the types that would yearn for such a title, because I believe that they are merely princes without the proper backing. Look at Sebastian, perfect example.
See, I think, this is my thought. I'm not saying that we don't have, names for things and it's something that builds up, but my position is I don't see why we're clinging to that notion and making sort of appeals to the old when, this we're in a state of war with them. It started when one of their archons got fed up with the BS and popped off. So anyway, the term that I think probably we should move towards is advocate.
All right. You don't believe that a term such as advocate looks more to serve someone that could be considered an employee or someone who is only to be used when necessary for certain actions or motions? I think the term baron is great because it flies in the face of print, to be completely honest. It makes a mockery of what they call themselves. But I also understand where you're coming from with a term such as advocate. I just worry that gives the idea that we work entirely for them and not a mutually beneficial arrangement.
I can see that. I can see where you're coming from with that. But, I think it stands to, buck against some of the more bestial impulses, that impulse to be a tyrant, to be a ruler. Form and function, they go back and forth into which one leads and which one follows. But for my part in the matter, I think that Baron is outdated. I think it sends the wrong message. I think it capitulates to the Camarille's philosophy. I think if we're naming ourselves out of spite, we're defining ourselves based on them. And I think that time is done.
Well, I think many of the Bruja who helped form this movement lack any chance to be spiteful, but I understand where you're coming from, and I can't say I completely disagree. I think that there is time to evolve. We have been living by this standard for, 30 years or more now? And I think our statement has been made, and perhaps it is time to take a step forward. I just think that there are those who see the Anarch movement as a opportunity, but for the wrong reason. And so I think that if we're going to have anything, there needs to be at least a modicum of don't fuck with us that comes with it. Because there are going to be those who look to exploit. And while in our most optimistic perspective, we would hope that we would all unite together to push out such elements. I know that there are plenty of other barons and anarchs who would just say, not in my neighborhood, not my problem, and therefore allow such tyrants or opportunistic individuals to succeed.
I think that's one of the sort of most persistent problems that our movement has.
But also, it's one of its greatest benefits, don't you agree? Better to not have your neighbors weighing in on everything that you do and allowing you a sense of privacy and peace.
True. Very true. It's kind of a delicate high wire act that we have to play, living up to our ideals while still maintaining the strength that we need to keep our true enemies from marching in and taking what's ours.
Yes. So how do you propose we remedy that? Because that's how the Camarilla has always won over us, is the fact that they are begrudgingly unified and they're not afraid to call in forces from afar to help make their message clear, whereas we, for the most part, tend to get along or unify on most things, but eventually it does, as it always does, comes down to infighting, which just weakens us and destroys us.
I think one thing that we need to try, I think that we need to make the message clear that we are at war, that the Cam is going to always use us as a scapegoat and a stomping ground to point at us and saying we're what's wrong, we're the ones that caused the Second Inquisition, all that bullshit. And I think we need to realize that a war is fought by unity. That we need to really sort of embrace, I think, the idea of mutual aid. That by helping one another, we keep the lines open to receive help ourselves, while still respecting that an anarch's territory, that his domain, are their own, and that they select through their support their own leaders.
And what if those leaders disagree on how a situation should be handled? What if one preaches caution and the other preaches aggression? Is the former supposed to still dedicate forces to the latter, even if those forces may be mismanaged and sacrificed?
That's a good question. I think when it comes down to it, you can only ask someone to fight, to put their own life on the line for something that they truly believe in. And if you can't make your case, then that could be a bridge too far when it comes to mutual aid.
That's all well and good, Mr. Lockwood, but I think both you and I know kindred are very manipulative beings, and they may say all the right things and claim all the right things and promise all the right things, but they could just as easily change their mind at the last moment, or just have deceived the entire time for the purposes of their own ambition.
I mean, that's always a danger no matter where you go.
Of course, and thus the problem.
Maybe we should reform one of the tools of our enemy and maybe start raising up sheriffs of reputation the old term harpy. Find a more appropriate way to do that job that doesn't just become a backbiting accountant or a maven. Actually spread and reinforce reputations, good and bad.
I like where your head's at, for certain. And I think amongst like-minded kindred, it could work, at least for a time. Do you know what I appreciate most about Dunedin, this area? Besides its culture and its baseball team? The distance between here and Tarpon Springs. I wouldn't trust Sebastian with a letter opener, let alone an army. He has come from Camarilla stock, as many of us have, but he came because he saw the tide turn against his interests. He saw an opportunity, as it were, to benefit from becoming an anarch. But I have no doubt in my mind that if the tide were to turn back, so would he. Because his interest is in his own survival, his own success. So what do we do in a situation such as that? If we're supposed to be unified and to preach brotherhood and togetherness and acceptance, what do we do when there's clearly a problem waiting to happen amongst us? Do we just take it on blind faith, cautious optimism? Or do we rightfully so show an excess of caution waiting for the inevitable to occur?
That's a very interesting tack. I mean, you realize that he makes sort of the same claims about you, right?
I'm sure he does. He's using the Ventrue reputation against me.
I would say that no one is going to blame you or anyone for having misgivings about a fellow kindred. I mean, the movement tries to raise us up and get us moving towards something positive and productive, but we are kindred. We are vampires, and we should never forget that. But I think there's a way to stay cautious while still making motions towards unity. You can't trust someone, find someone to go between. Someone you both can trust. I mean, it's one of the things that I offer myself as a go-between between contentious parties that are within the good graces of the movement. Keep lines of communication open, even if you don't welcome, potential knives behind the back close to your person.
And who decides who is in the good graces of the movement and who is not?
Well, I think it's potentially a trite answer, but the movement decides. Like I said, I think we need to have a bit more strenuous safeguards and visibility on reputations.
What do you see? Let's talk some hypotheticals here for a moment.
Sure.
Say we are successful in our war. Say we do finally topple the tower that has stood over kindred kind for so long. What comes next, and what's to prevent it from simply rising again under another name or another form? You say we're at war, and that is true, but when haven't we been? As kindred, as a whole, whether it was the Sabbat or whether it was just simply amongst domains. We're territorial by our nature. We're solitary by what we are. The reason we socialize and even cross paths is to hold on to what shreds of humanity we can for as long as we can. But if it were up to us, we would live in our castles alone up on the hilltop, commanding the villages down below as it once was.
I think I have to push back on that. I think in many ways, for all of their vaunted power and strength of the blood, our elders have I think they're more entrenched in that than we are. I think that, I mean, look at the Thin Bloods. Look at the fact that every day, every night, another elder disappears. The Ancilla are eventually going to feel the pull of either torpor or disconnection, or hey, maybe even the beckoning will take them. And then who will be left? The young, the ones who, by dint of our generation, don't feel those in deeply embedded territorial and adversarial impulses. I think when the war is won and our enemies are fled to other shores or deep in their fucking coffins, I think that while we need to remain vigilant against those sort of impulses, I think it is not inevitable that we will all succumb to them.
Well, let's stay on the example of the Thin Bloods. They have, some of them, particular advantages. The ability to dwell in the daylight, the ability to better blend in with the humans, but also they have the advantage or disadvantage, depending on how you view it, of youth. They are being made from an entitled generation. They don't remember days of the same kind of struggle or acceptance of the fact that we don't get everything we want just because we want it. How can we say with any kind of certainty that they won't just see themselves as the evolution of vampire kind, and that the old needs to be cut out or squashed out? I'm not foolish enough or naive enough to believe that, oh, just because we are full-blooded, we have more power than they do, despite what my elders would have said and what my predecessors would have believed. As you said, it was one upstart with a shotgun who changed everything for all of us. For the better, in my mind. Despite my connections to the late Hardestat, it was a long time coming, to be completely honest. But what if that upstart has the power of sunlight to their advantage? That's a lot scarier than a shotgun, if you ask me.
You're not wrong. I think our best bulwark against a Thin Blood uprising is to not treat them like shit. I think that's going to go a long way. I think if we can see them as kindred, maybe a different kind of kindred, but who share our struggles. And I think that the young of this generation, the mortals, I think they have their own struggles, maybe different struggles than what we had coming up. I think they're coming up in a world where sort of the lie of the American dream is kind of exposing itself. and they are facing, even before their hearts stop beating, a lot of uncertainty and a lot of shaky ground when it comes to a future. So I think, like I said, our best defense against that kind of uprising is, well, if you don't want somebody to be an enemy, don't treat them like one.
But how far does that go? Because they're kind of a walking contradiction. They're used to having everything delivered to them, catered to them, accepting of them, no matter what shape they take, no matter how they behave. Because if you were to cast any kind of judgment about their behavior, they're viewed as triggering or, stepping over certain lines. And regardless of that fact being true or not, what we view as treating them like shit and what they view as treating them like shit might be very different.
I mean, there's always going to be this, even amongst the mortals, the generational struggle is eternal. The young are always going to see the old as out of touch and corrupt. The old are always going to see the young as entitled and wanting the world on a platter. That's never changed. I mean, look at newspaper clippings and editorials from 100 years ago. It's the same fucking story. I think that if we want to try and build a future, one that includes both us and them, we need to be vigilant against those sorts of prejudices both ways from getting entrenched. I think, to use a mortal term, break bread, get face to face, see each other for what they are, and don't let a stereotype, don't let a preconception take root in one another's heads. Show that we are allies. Don't just say we are.
I think you are one of the most optimistic anarchs I have ever met. And I don't mean that as an insult in any capacity. I think it is charming and enlightened and hopeful. I suppose I'm worried about how realistic it is. When we get down to it, our very nature is what's going to be what divides us in the long term. Our unwillingness to see change, which happens a lot faster than I think most kindred are willing to believe, especially in modern nights. I mean, my goodness, I can't keep up with whatever model of iPhone is out now.
I stick to the BlackBerry mostly. It's still functional.
They're gonna stop servicing those one day, you
know. I've got a guy. I got a couple guys now who are gonna help me keep up to date on that sort of things. But I think, you're not wrong. Yeah, I'm an optimist. I like to envision a future that I want to live in. But, parabellum, prepare for war. But if we don't try and make the world a better place, we're never going to live in one.
Well, let me ask you this then. I think one of the reasons that this future hasn't been achieved as of yet is because talk is easy. But for one to be so willing to stick their necks out, truly stick their necks out as the proponent of change, I mean, it's easy to herald McNeil as a hero, but where is he now? No one knows. He could be dead. He could be beckoned like the rest of his generation, or many of his generation. He could be just, perhaps, realizing the error of his ways, and gone to ground. He didn't want to be a figurehead. He didn't want to be a ruler, but he couldn't control the narrative. Many think of him as an anarch messiah of the new movement. And yet, where is he? Nines Rodriguez hates being heralded as much as he is, but where would we be without him? I like where your head's at. I just am not sure who could implement such change in a way that everyone would, or as a majority, would accept. I think a lot of anarchs are in the movement just so that they have no one telling them what to do. And I fear for you that they may view you as you telling them what to do, how to behave, how to work with others, how to grow for the future. And while it's all well and good, the beast is the worst enemy we have to fight in the war. It does not accept anyone telling them what to do about anything. And it's in all of us. And some of us have a better reign on it than others, but we all have our button that once pushed can't be unpushed. So what do you say to that?
I say that I hate it, but I gotta speak in cliches. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. You know, if the only people who I can get to move along the way that I think is going to lead us to a better way are the ones who can get behind it, well, I'm not going to spend my nights dragging people along. If they want to stay in the old bad ways, then they can rot. I'll try and show them a better way. But there's only so much kicking and streaming that I'm willing to do.
Is it a way you're willing to die for?
You know, I've been asked a couple of times in recent nights about dying, living forever, all of that. I'm not going to throw my own life away. I'm not going to, go out in a blaze of glory just for doing so. For glory's sake. But at the same time, I don't want to be here forever. Not if the inevitable that we all fear is true. Not if the losing battle with the beast is an eventual one. So I think as long as I go out doing my damn best to move the needle, then if it happens, it happens.
Historically, a great number of movements were kicked off by either a tyrant or a martyr. Who would you have be this martyr if not you?
I think if it comes to that, if I am crumbling bones in the sunlight or in a fire or head removed from shoulders, whatever happens after that is beyond my control. I have to live my own life in a way that I can live with. So if I look optimistic, naive, trying to push things forward, okay. And if that gets me killed, okay. Now, if people take up the banner after me, I don't know if there's something after this. For us, for the humans, for anything. I know there's... Well, no, actually, I'm lying about that. There is something after for... There's something. Don't know what shape it takes. But I've seen the other shore, so... I suppose that'll be an interesting thing to see from the other side of the river.
Say it isn't death. Say it isn't quick. Say it's prolonged suffering. Even William Wallace was tortured before he was killed. Do you have a breaking point, and what do you believe it would be? And you don't have to answer. I'm not trying to exploit you for some sort of insight that I can use against you later on. This is a legitimate and genuine question I ask you is, how much are you willing to go through? Because it's perfectly fine when we can have peaceful meetings like this, but when you're facing down an actual army that disagrees with you, or a unified front that believes that you're in the wrong, or that you're just being manipulative or exploiting, are you willing to face down that army, quite literally? Are you willing to potentially be taken captive and manipulated and coerced? Because these are all very real possibilities we face. We're lucky because there was a prince to the south who believed that the fight was unnecessary. That's why most of these baronies are still here, to be completely honest with you, because if Tampa and St. Petersburg had combined forces, we would have been wiped out. We still could, if they wanted to. The reason we aren't is because we haven't gained enough of their notice, attention, or care to not be. Well, with what you're proposing, we will.
I think there's a realm of hypothetical. What if I'm captured? What if I'm tortured? What if I break? I think that you could agonize yourself about those kind of things all night. You could get trapped. And trust me, I know about getting trapped in your own head.
I won't argue with you there.
I try to avoid that kind of thing. If it happens, well, shit. If I'm pushed into a place that my agency and control is taken away from me, horrifying to think about. Try and avoid it. But if it happens, it happens.
Well, I suppose I admire your ability to be so confident about that. Not all of us have that quality. There are a lot of things where I consider myself extremely confident, and deservedly so. But what you're speaking about, it does bother me. It does worry me. I didn't put myself here just to be far away from Tarpon Springs. I put myself here because this place isn't really overly desired. To be this close to the camp, to be this close to monsters we can only have in our nightmares, supposedly, though I have not seen it myself. Sebastian's a coward. He chose the place furthest away from the threat, because he knew there was everything in between him and it. I thought I might as well have a go at it, because I wasn't interested in fighting others for what scraps there was to be had. But I hope, Mr. Lockwood, you will understand my hesitance and my cautious optimism about what it is that you propose, and that I might not be the first one to sign up for such a thing. I will still listen and I will still attend meetings. I will still hear out what is to be said, but I will do so with quite a healthy dose of skepticism, because I have seen kindred at their best and I've seen them at their worst. And there is still that looming unpredictability of what each individual kindred's thing is. We classify ourselves into groups because it's easier to deal with it that way. But we are still very much individuals, and that makes us dangerous and unpredictable.
I hear your caution, and I respect it. For right now, all I'm proposing is that we keep talking. That we help where we can, in the ways that we can.
Well, fortunately for both of us, talk I can do, because talk is free. I'm not a therapist or a lawyer, so I'm not going to charge by the hour for every conversation that we have. So that I can do. I'm happy to keep the conversation going, even if it includes Mr. De Leon.
I think we're destined to be all around his table one night.
Goody. Is there anything else I can do for you, Mr. Lockwood?
No, not at the moment. I think, well, there is one thing.
Sure.
A friend of mine went missing a couple weeks ago. Last seen in Clearwater. Goes by August. If he pops up, let me know at the very least. If you don't, maybe give him a place to sleep for a couple of nights, and I can get him out of your hair if he crosses into your borders.
Oh, of course. I defend this area, this domain. I don't want to call it a domain because that sounds so cammy, but let's just call it what it is. A spade is spade. I defend this city as best as I possibly can. But it is still open to all who have a modicum of goodness in their hearts. So if he does show up, I will do so, although I will say it will be very difficult to get information out of Clearwater. That border is as tight and secure as it can be. As far as I know, they got wards against every living and unliving thing possible in that city. But I'll keep my eyes out. Have you spoken to the one they call Al?
Yes, I have.
Well, he's between here and there, so if anyone's going to have at least some idea of what's going on in that city, it'd be him.
I'll send him a message. And I'm not asking you to stick your neck out, not in that regard, just if he pops up.
He'll have a safe harbor here as long as he brings no ill intent or ill will.
If he does, just give me the opportunity to pick him up.
If he does, I will serve him up to you in a box. How about that?
As long as I can put him back together again.
Oh,
but,
I wouldn't kill him.
Good to know. Yeah, it was good speaking with you, Baron Browne.
And you. As I've said, admire what you're saying. I just have to be pragmatic and practical. That's how I made my successes. That's how I became Baron. Boy, you're right. That title does not roll off the tongue easy.
It does not. It does not work for what we're going for.
No, it really doesn't. But
maybe I'm not going on the right direction with advocate, but we need to come up with something that's not feudalistic. That's just against everything that we stand for. Or at least say we stand for.
Well, I'll start looking into it and see if I can come up with some suggestions. to this meeting you
Absolutely.
propose.
Absolutely. One last thing for you. If you want to get further down the list of the werewolves off their shit list, you have any investments or ties to Endron or Magadon? Divest. Distance.
It's good advice. I will certainly speak to my stockbroker about that to ensure that we disconnect ourselves as best as possible from any such investment. Thank you for the heads up.
Absolutely. If any other rage-inducing corporations come upon my awareness, I will let you know.
Please do. The last thing I need is to draw the ire of the wolves. I've got plenty amongst the kindred as it is now.
Indeed. I'm going to keep managing that situation. If it goes to shit, well, then I'm probably the first one to get my head ripped off.
And that open-boarded invitation stands for you as well. I don't know how you're sweating it out as well as you are in Tampa proper, being that close to the once dominant Camarilla gives me the skeevies. But if you find yourself in a situation where it is no longer beneficial or profitable to be in that location, you could have a place here.
That's good to know. I don't want to close any doors that I don't have to.
Of course. It's not a big area, and it's not as fantastical as one of the major cities, but it's suitable. A good steady stream of tourism, and some locals who are good about not noticing that which isn't to be noticed.
That's a good combination. And I have no problem with keeping things small. I think it's actually pretty sensible.
I don't have ambitions to get much bigger than this. So, as long as it remains secure and, as I said, profitable, I don't need to go anywhere else.
Eminently sensible.
Or until the waters to start to swallow up this area, as they claim it will one day.
Well, I'll give them that. Yeah, no, that's gonna be a big problem one day.
Indeed. Well, it was a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Lockwood. I will definitely be interested in hearing what comes attached with your name going forward, and I will be always willing to accept your phone call.
I will keep you in my phone. Good evening, Baron Browne.
He stands up from the table once more, giving you a handshake, and as you are escorted back out into the streets, Dunedin is one of those cities that closes early. Most people who live there are people who have retired or are nearing that age. The parties really rage more in Clearwater, Tampa, and sometimes in St. Petersburg. So as you walk out onto the streets, it's quiet. Maybe even a little bit more quiet than it was when you arrived. It's not people walking up and down the sidewalks. The city's gone to bed, as it does. So as you return to the car that's waiting for you to begin the long drive east, which even at this time of night is probably going to take the better part of an hour to get back to where you would call home. What's going through your mind?
He's glad he kept an open mind. Glad he didn't let the prejudices seep in. Because he thinks Browne has a good head on his shoulders. Maybe they don't see eye to eye on everything, but he's someone that Jeremiah can work with. And he's willing to be the buffer between people who don't want to give him a chance. But at the same time, got to keep an eye on the Ventrue.
A Ventrue always can claim that they are satisfied with what they have, that they have no ambition to grow, but in a way that goes against their very nature as Ventrue. Not even just as kindred, who of course are predators, but as Ventrue, who are political predators. Always wanting a little bit more, even if it's just another house or another street or another neighborhood. They can't help it. It's in their blood. But what's in all kindred's blood is violence. Pure, unadulterated violence. Is peace ever possible amongst kindred? Everyone would like to think so. But who's actually willing to do something about it? And how far are they willing to go? We now transition to our next scene. It's been a few days since that Elysium meeting. Been a few days since many, many truths came to light. Truths about your vulnerability. That somehow you've been at least partially responsible for a lot of the hard times that have fallen upon the coterie. And one of those vulnerabilities, one of those responsibilities has been your sister and childer, Bethany, who when left to their own devices seems to have been creating quite a stir noticeable enough that even the Camarilla has picked up on it. Now, is it the same kind of vulnerabilities that you're suffering from? Is it that somehow the information is getting out? But that didn't quite fit right, because you didn't know it was happening. So how did they know? It's Bethany, the leak. Did somebody get into her mind and into her ear? Has she been going off and telling others what you've been up to? If that were the case, why would they sell her out? Why would they tell you that she's been a problem? There's so many questions that aren't being answered, so many that maybe can't be answered, and that is so aggravating for certain types of people. It's hard to even comprehend as a Toreador how a Malkavian can deal with it, knowing that those kinds of questions, and even more so ones that can't be answered, are almost constantly bouncing around in their minds. At the end of the day, you just want to create something beautiful. You want to protect those you love. And you want to survive. But the more this goes on, the more complicated it seems to become. You turned Bethany because you didn't want to kill her after revealing to her what you are and making her one as well. But now it's coming to a point where you may not have a choice. Because if word continues to spread about what Bethany is doing, if you're not the one to do it, someone else likely will. And they may even hold you responsible for it as well. Because even though the Anarchs don't necessarily hold the traditions in the same high regard that the Camarilla do, One thing that can be said for the Anarchs is, if the shoe fits, if they need an excuse, they can find one in the traditions. They can find one in the society. There's a reason those traditions are so vague, so that they can be shaped and molded into whatever you need them to be to fit a specific situation to benefit the one who has the power to wield it. So I'd ask, what have the last few days been like for Bethany after finding out, or for Beau after finding out about Bethany's nighttime activities? Supposedly, again, no proof is given. They just said, look in her eyes and you'll know. But those eyes haven't exactly changed much ever since she turned. There's always been a hint of lifelessness in them. Dying does that. Just is a little bit more obvious to others. So what has the last few days been like? Internally and externally.
Externally, Beau has been doing his best to keep his calm, keeping a closer eye on his sister, not letting her leave his side whenever he can. Internally, it's been a mess of how am I the leak? What information do they know? What have they gotten? How is this still possible with everything that's happened? Is there a way to stop it? But trying to present a calm and collected front to Bethany and the others.
And at this particular moment, before this scene occurs, before the next few scenes occur, where is Beau's head at in what to do with Bethany?
Right now, their main thought is figuring out if the information that Bateman produced is real. And if it is, bringing it to the group and potentially ending Bethany, as much as it pains him to think of.
All right. Now, you've kept a very tight leash, so to speak, on Bethany for the past several days, ever since finding out. There hasn't been a moment that's passed where they haven't been at your side, making sure that you have eyes on them at all times, and you've asserted your will and dominance as a sire. And in a small way, it feels good to have your decisions not questioned, to have your will be done, to not be vulnerable. But is that the type of kindred you want to be? The beast says yes. The beast loves control, loves dominance, as any good predator does. But does Beau love that? Does Beau want that? Does whatever shred of humanity, a slowly dwindling shred, want that? If it suits their goals of survival, if it suits their goal of protecting their loved one, even if they are right now standing with their head upon the chopping block, maybe, just maybe, you can understand why Talia did what she did. Why she acted the way she acted. Because all this freedom, all of this room to breathe, all this room to do whatever you want to do, well, a lot of it's been nothing but trouble. A lot of it's been nothing but heartache and pain and loss. In the time that you've been free, you had to kill your own sister. Your brother was turned and then murdered. And one that you started to view as a sister died. Is this what this life is? It's more sacrifice and loss. Boy, it's starting to feel like it. But as you're at home, knowing that later that evening you're to meet with Jeremiah, knowing that later that evening you're supposed to attend to Solomon to deliver Bethany to potentially answer for what she's done. Supposedly. We find ourselves in your haven, such as it is, your shared haven with Bethany, the place that you got especially so that you could have some space with your sister, so that you could have a place of your very own amidst the essential couch surfing you've been doing ever since you left Talia. Whether it was staying at the bar, now burned down, or under Solomon's watchful serpentine gaze. Maybe there's always been control inside of you and you just have been ignoring it. But there you are. Having awoken for the evening, having immediately gone straight to make sure that Bethany is in their room, awakening themselves and not somewhere else. Unfortunately, because of the tight leash you've kept, they are. She emerges from her slumber, head kept bowed. Conversation has been minimal, primarily a yes or no, or an agreement to do whatever it is you've asked them to do, like any good childer does. She actually speaks, asking a question that maybe she's asked once or twice in the previous days. What's the plan for tonight?
We're gonna go talk to Jeremiah and Solomon.
About what?
Beau will lean against the doorway, arms crossed over his chest as he looks at her. We've been given some information, and before we go to this meeting, I got a question for you.
All right.
And I want you to look me in my eyes when you answer. You been out killing people?
she actually does lift her gaze, probably for the first time in days, as you have been a lot more steadfast and vigilant. And ever since the slap, specifically, the mood has changed. The feeling of being even keeled has changed. Why would I do that? We're not supposed to.
But have you?
Yes.
How many?
I've tried to keep track, Beau, I really have, but sometimes it's me and sometimes it's it that decides. But I've always cleaned up. That's what I'm supposed to do, right?
How many the last time that you had count?
Last time I remember, 15. Mostly vagrants or street folk or those that have approached me with ill intent.
How you been taking care of those bodies?
Dumping them where they won't be found.
Dumping them where? Because somebody's taking notice.
Mostly the storm drains and sewers. I didn't want to get into debt with anybody, Beau, so I didn't take them to the funeral parlor or Vesper or anything like that. You've been very clear that debt is a bad thing and I shouldn't accrue any.
Exactly.
I don't
But
exactly have a lot of resources anymore.
You shouldn't be killing people either. And here we are. At least 15. Enough for the prince to take notice, Beth.
I thought we didn't care what the prince does or thinks.
We don't. But if the prince knows, other people know.
I'm sorry, okay? I don't know what to do anymore. I'm trying my best, but every day I wake up and I just can't think of anything else. It's in my mind all the time. It's clawing at my insides and my throat.
That's why I got you that herd, Beth.
I couldn't kill them. And don't think I haven't been tempted to. Nobody was supposed to know. I didn't want to cause problems for you. I was just hungry. And once I'd start eating, I couldn't stop because I just thought maybe a little bit more. Just maybe a little bit more. And I can't get any goddamn answers as to why I can't be full. You've been full.
I've not been full. The last time I was full was because I killed Talia. You ain't ever fully full.
You just said you were.
It's very rare, Beth. And that hunger always comes right back.
Well, it would be nice to know what that's like for 5 minutes. Just for 5 minutes of peace and quiet. And when I was here by myself, was worse. Last few days, you being around has been nice. Tough, but nice. Because at least there was a distraction. At least there was an expectation. At least it wasn't just me and my thoughts and my hunger all night long. So what are they gonna do? If they know? They're gonna kill me?
They might. And he'll walk over and sit down on the bed next to her, forearms on his thighs.
You gonna let them?
There's only so much I can do, Beth. I can try to advocate for you, but that many bodies, and given what we've got going with the wolves, that could put that all in jeopardy.
What if we went somewhere else? Fresh start. I can be better.
He'll rub his hands together, interlace his fingers. What if I advocated for you to be sent somewhere where they can keep a better eye on you, keep you in better company?
I'd just be alone again, and you know that. They'd probably just kill me or put me in a box. I'm an inconvenience to them. Jeremiah's made that very clear.
You keep talking about wanting to be away from here.
I want us to be away from here. Why do you stay? What's so important about Tampa? What's so important about Florida? Seems like this is the worst place for a vampire to be. It's just sun all the time. What are we, like, being daredevils or something? Like, why? Why would you be here? Why not, like, Alaska or Canada or something like that, where it's dark?
Alaska ain't always dark. Yes, half the year it is mostly night, but the other half is mostly day. Also, it's freezing cold.
I thought that didn't matter anymore. Or maybe the UK, where at least it's cloudy all the time. Like, are we trying to, like, show off or defy God or something by being here? Why here? Why is this place important?
It's where we've lived all our lives, Beth.
Oh, we're not
Amen.
alive anymore.
We may not be alive, but keeping those ties usually helps to keep the beast at bay. Remind us of what it was like to live, what it was like to be human.
Nobody's human in Florida.
You'd really say that about Ma?
She is how much longer? When do they turn their sights on her? On Tyler? They've already proven they can and will. Maybe the best thing we can do is get away from them. Learn from Daddy's mistake.
Even if we get away, they could still use them against us. Who's to say that Talia didn't find me because of Dad? Last time I saw him, he kept saying it was his fault.
What was the goodbye for if you're not intending on leaving? Goodbye that started this whole mess, that brought me into this. Can't say goodbye and stick around.
Dad did.
Yeah, and look what good that did. Bunch of unanswered questions and then our inevitable death.
Then, going back to the question you asked me, as I see it, there are only really two options for what could happen to you. Killing you a second time for good, or sending you away. I could try to advocate for the latter, but that's not appealing to you, I understand. But that ties my hands, Beth.
The fact that you feel that way tells me everything I need to know. You love this city more than you love me. And that's fine, but it's good for me to know.
You wouldn't be alone forever, Beth. I'd come eventually. I have obligations that I need to finish before I can leave. And I'd at least get the family out of Tampa. Maybe not where we are, but out of here. Out of their reach.
If I'm sent away, I don't want you to come looking for me. Because I don't think I'd want to see you.
I understand.
Well, then I guess you've already made up your mind.
And it sounds like you've made up yours as well.
I don't get a choice. I don't get control of my own life. I haven't had that for how many weeks now?
About 2 months-ish.
Yeah, so I just have to bow and curtsy to whoever the boss is, whether it's you or whoever they bond me to, just like Daddy. So funny, I hear all this talk about anarchy and freedom, but it just seems like domination dressed up different in a leather jacket. I keep asking why? Why do we bow? Why do we kneel? Why do we kowtow? Why do we answer to everyone else except ourselves? And I can't get a good answer other than it's what we need to do to survive. It's what we need to do to continue. Why? Nobody can tell me why. Not you, not Jeremiah, not no one. What are you all so scared of? We're supposed to be better than. We're supposed to be supernatural. I feel like this made our lives worse, not better. At least when we were human, our leash was loose enough to give us the illusion of freedom. I'm shouting at a wall. It doesn't fucking matter. You do what you think is best. Just make sure you can live with yourself when you do. Because all of this, you did this. I didn't ask for it, I didn't agree to it, and I didn't want it. And I might die for that. Hopefully, they're feeling benevolent enough that you don't die too.
That's my hope. Because if this were the cam, I would be dying with you.
Well, lucky you, Beau. Lucky you that it's only your sister that has to die. Your twin sister.
You think that makes me happy, Beth? You think the thought of you dying again makes me happy?
Then why are we doing it? Why isn't any of this about the pursuit of our own happiness? Why is it all subjugation and rules and laws and being told what we can and can't do when we can and can't do it?
It's the same thing in fucking life, Beth. You got the
But we're not
government, you got
alive.
cops. There's always gonna be some form of governing power. It's just a change of what exactly the rules are.
And you're okay with that?
I don't have another choice, Beth. My only other choice is to meet the sun.
We could run. We could hide. You don't have a sire anymore to keep tabs on you. And eventually they won't care about us anymore. They got bigger problems. They got wolves and they got fucking, I don't know, hunters or priests or something. I don't know what it is. I don't know why I'm still fighting. I can't stop. I can't give up on you like you're giving up on me.
I'm not giving up, Beth. I'm gonna do what I can, but I don't have many options. You put me in a very difficult spot.
Sucks, doesn't it? Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm scared.
I know you're scared. I am too.
It's all right. I'd like to be alone for a little bit here until we have to go.
Yeah. I'll be just outside and I'll call you when it's time.
All right.
Beth, I'll do everything that I can for you. Even if it don't look like much, I'm doing what I can.
I know. Just makes me long for the times when we would have done anything for each other.
I don't know, Beth. He'll stand up and walk out.
As you close the door, roll me a wits and awareness.
Three successes.
Very soft, and it's very subtle from behind the door. The door which would muffle noises to any human ears. Your ears aren't human. From behind the door, you hear soft, stifled sobs. This is where we go to break. We'll be back in just a few minutes with the second half of tonight's story. Welcome back. As we return, it is later that evening, and the storms have arrived. Now, this isn't anything new. It's been storming on and off most of the week, most of the last several weeks, because of the tropical storm, almost hurricane that was in the area for a bit, and it's just the storm season. Welcome to Florida. It happens around this time of year where these rains just hit intermittently and sometimes non-stop if there is a large storm on the horizon. But this isn't just a physical storm. It's an emotional one as well. Because this is when kindred are called to task for the things that they've done, the things they've been accused of. This is when consequences and repercussions come calling. Now, you've aligned or arranged a meeting with Solomon, and you intend to bring Bethany. But as you arrive at the walk and roll, you can actually see that for the first time, the restaurant is completely closed. But Doberman and a mid-sized sedan of reasonable wealth, but not too fancy, is in the parking lot. Doberman with a umbrella open over his head. And as all of you arrive, he tells you to get into the car and that they're driving to another location for this meeting. So as you get in, Jeremiah getting into the passenger side next to Doberman and Bethany, and Beau piling into the back seat. Bethany has this almost funereal quality about her. In her mood, in her behavior, her eyes downcast, dressed in all black, even with like heavy eyeshadow and the whole deal, giving off very Bellatrix Lestrange vibes with her appearance. I'd like to ask what you're both thinking as you get into the car on the long rain-soaked drive to Solomon. Jeremiah, we'll start with you and then Beau.
Jeremiah he hates this. This is something that he felt was coming since almost the minute he found out that Bethany had been turned. He tried to give her a chance. He tried to teach her. He tried to carrot and stick as best he could, but he never wanted to even have a kid when he was mortal. This is not a situation that he was ever thinking about being in, and being forced into it, even indirectly, is never was going to be something he would want for himself. But he can't bring himself to hate Bethany or, try and like dress it up or justify it. Like this is a tragedy, and it's one that he has to ride out and try to make it as fair or ethical or whatever other lie he tries to put on it. The Masquerade is a harsh mistress. And it's the one rule, the one absolute that makes sense. And it is unforgiving.
What are his feelings toward or about Beau surrounding this whole matter?
He's disappointed. He has always liked Beau. I mean, there was a time when the blood made it a little bit more, and some of that lingers. He's very fond of Beau. But each of his co-mates in turn has made a major screw up and made it his problem one way or the other. So much with Bethany, it's not hate, it's not anger, but it is disappointment.
And Beau, the time has come. You may have been dreading it this whole time, but now it's finally here. You're in the car ride. You're going to the meeting. There's very little opportunity to turn back now, especially with Doberman behind the wheel, who doesn't get his name just for his looks. What's going through your mind?
Beau's mind is running on all cylinders, trying to figure out the best possible punishment for this, for Bethany. Because there will be a punishment. He's also considering the repercussions for himself. This is his child, therefore her mistakes are also his responsibility, and what this could entail for him and his own life. There is a quelling of that little spark of hope that maybe, just maybe, this will all turn out fine. He's trying to temper that and squash it out because he knows that's likely not going to happen. This is a harsh world. It does not grant optimism very often.
So as you continue the drive, Doberman remains silent. Bethany remains silent. Until, without looking at you, Bethany kind of leans in your direction, Beau. Are you sure about this?
It's gonna happen eventually.
Does it have to?
Yes, it does.
All right. He leans back into the seat, her gaze drifting towards the window. No matter what happens, Beau, decide what stake you want in this life. Do you want it to run you? Or do you want to run it? Because what I saw that night, the night I died, I saw someone very alone. Someone scared and hurt, lashing out against a world that's kept her caged, or kept him caged, kept him trapped. That's what all this has been about, isn't it? Escaping. Escaping Talia. Escaping the Camarilla. At that point, she just falls quiet.
lowers head and places hand between them, palm up, in case she wants to take it.
She doesn't. Her hands just remain on her lap, her gaze out the window. Streetlights passing overhead, occasionally illuminating her face, which is just stony and stoic, devoid of emotion or care or life. But go ahead and give me a wits and insight or awareness. This can go for both of you if you'd like.
Three successes.
4 successes.
In the rear view mirror, Jeremiah, and directly across from you, Beau, even with the stoic, stony, lifeless exterior, you're able to pick up on the faintest hints of despair, whether it be the little bit of red rimming around her eyes, of tears that are not quite spilling over just yet, or just the faintest longing, as if she hasn't quite resigned herself just yet. The car drives for a while. A lot longer than you thought it would as you leave the territory and you hop onto the highway. And eventually, Jeremiah, you find yourself going in the same direction as before, west, towards the coast. You find yourself getting on the Howard Franklin Bridge, the one that connects Pinellas County and St. Petersburg to Tampa. Eventually, the car exits the highway and you find yourself going to some place called Derby Lane. Now, why this is important is this used to be a dog racing track many, many years ago, until dog racing was outlawed. Now it's a sports book and poker room. And it's just outside of St. Petersburg, very close to the bridge that leads over to Tampa. Now on the weekends, this place is open 24 hours a day, but during the week, it closes around 3 a.m. Same time bars do. So as the car is pulling into the massive parking lot, which is sometimes also used as an Amazon delivery kind of hub where a bunch of their trucks are parked, you can see that there are still a few other cars in the parking lot, likely employees, staff, guards, pit bosses, the like. But Doberman drives the vehicle over towards one of the maintenance doors, a roll-top garage door that seems to lead into the track area itself, because the track is still there, even if it's not used actively. As you arrive and the door is rolled up, the rain comes down a little bit harder, because as you go closer to the coast, closer to the source of storms and weather, unsurprisingly, it is a little bit more intense a little bit more treacherous. Lightning flashes across the sky, thunder echoes off of the ground. Behind the rolled up door stands Solomon and two suited men you can only assume work for the dog track, work for the poker room. Dressed in suits, a dark shirt, tie, but Solomon is dressed in his standard attire, tieless shirt, button up, but pull buttons undone, blazer. He's still wearing the sunglasses, which is not that surprising once you've gotten to know him and been around him for a while. That's just a fixture to him. And in a world of bright neon lights, UV, halogen, for a ministry, it's almost required. But mostly it's just maintenance lights that appear to be on within this maintenance area. They look a little dusty, like they have cobwebs growing around them, as if this isn't a frequented area. All of the action is in the main building where the poker tables are. This is just a testament to a time that once was. A long time ago. Doberman puts the car in park, immediately climbs out, and moves to Bethany's side of the car, opening the door and opening the umbrella to hold up before all four of you move towards the garage door where Solomon awaits. He looks towards both of you. Now, Finn, didn't I?
I think a bit of paranoia got into them.
Can you blame them? You've been to Elysium. Talk about paranoia.
Yeah, there was something about their Twitch stream being tagged by the SI. I think that's a little after my time.
Speaking for both of us there. Reason I don't dawdle with social media or anything of the like. I pay people to do that. Well, you wanted to meet? Let's talk.
Interesting venue.
Another investment. Really a fallback point if you ask. In case things get a little hot.
Not bad at all.
Yeah.
I followed your advice, by the way. Got a backup joint in the burbs.
Never put all your cash in one bank.
There's plenty we could go over about Elysium, but there's one pressing matter. Beau, this is for you to tell.
Yep.
Both things are for you to tell.
Yep. Starting with the first. It was brought to my attention that Bethany was potentially killing people and just dumping the bodies, but I have since gotten confirmation. Now, I tried to get a number, and I know it's at least 15, very likely a lot more than that.
You're a hungry little girl, aren't you? He says, looking over at Bethany, who just keeps her eyes downcast and doesn't respond. You know if the bodies were in the territory?
I just got that they were being tossed in storm drains and sewers.
You Keeping our neighborhood clean there, little girl? She doesn't say anything. Well, how'd they know? How'd you find out?
The prince told us that somehow the information got to him, and I asked her. She told me straight to my face.
Well, no point in lying about it. Lies always tend to surface. My question is, how'd the prince know?
That I'm not entirely sure of. Even I didn't know until he said something, which leads into the next point. I've been told that I'm the leak.
Solomon furrows his brow, creases and wrinkles, making him look older than he normally does. I'm sorry, this sounds like it's a surprise to you also.
Yeah.
So how exactly are you the leak, but also not aware of it?
I don't know how he got the information on Beth. Likely finding the bodies or catching her somewhere or someone else seeing something. I didn't ask too many questions.
Maybe sewers. Eventually the Nosferatu will catch wind.
Well, you know what they say? Assume there's a Nosferatu in every room you're in.
Yep.
How much do they know?
They didn't let on how much they knew. They tried to get us to tell them what they already knew. Or at least that's what I'm gathering.
They specifically wanted you, your name, your details. But if Beau's the leak, through some means that I haven't been able to determine either, how could they not know already?
Well, I've always been on the Camarilla's radar even before all of this. I think they were just looking for you to say it. See how nimble your alliances were. I take it you didn't give it up.
Well, no. As enticing as the offer was, we didn't take the bait.
That's what it was, bait. Nothing genuine was offered. And even if it was, you know me. I'm ride or die.
One thing I've always appreciated about you. What did they offer you?
Your territory, the castle, detente, once you were taken care of.
Well, they probably would have had you do that too.
Probably.
Gotta admit, I'm surprised he didn't take it. But you're not a snake like me. See, I would have used it against them and probably manipulated the situation to my favor, but that's years of experience talking and a willingness to get my hands dirty. But I take it as a compliment. I appreciate it. Rarely, when they ever offer to take care of your problems or give you everything you ever wanted, does it not come with a very hefty price tag attached, and they're sloppy. They do a really bad job of taking care of things all the way. Look at us. Every time they think they stamp us out, we're still here like cockroaches. And it just ends up leading to more of us.
One of these days they're gonna catch on. Or not.
Doesn't matter either way.
We're beating around the bush. There's problems that we need to resolve.
Yeah.
Apparently multiple problems. I'm guessing the restaurant is no longer safe. Guessing
If it
this
ever
place, if you're still a leak, is no longer safe.
If I am, I don't know how.
Took care of the whole Talia mess, right? That was you? It's done?
Yep. Killed it myself. Watched it decay in my arms.
All right, Beau. I need you to be square with me. Have you fed off of any other kindred?
No.
Beau, I need a manipulation and subterfuge roll because you have the Valdery.
I thought he meant since Talia. Okay.
I'm rolling insight.
Three successes.
Okay.
5.
All right, Jeremiah, you can tell Beau's not quite telling the entire truth, or if they are, they're limiting it to a very specific period of time. They're framing it as truth in their own mind. Solomon's expression is unreadable. If he's caught on, he's not showing that he's caught on.
Well, we need to have all the cards on the table. We need clarity so that we can move forward.
Alright, yeah, there were some. None of them connected to the cam, though, as far as I could tell.
What do you mean by some?
About, I think it was 4.
For what? You're gonna have to be more specific. You're being very dodgy.
Yeah.
Go to some sort of blood orgy or something, because while those are a kick, they often come with more issues than benefits.
Yeah. It was a small one, but yeah.
And you didn't invite Jeremiah? You don't think he'd have enjoyed?
I think he was a little busy that night.
Alright, who was at this blood orgy? Did you even get their names, or was it one of those eyes wide shut affairs?
The second. No names involved, no attachments, no strings, just debauchery.
Alright, give me another manipulation and subterfuge, because you had at least one name, and there were definitely strings.
Mm-hmm. Successes?
Successes.
Six.
Alright. And how'd you find out about this gathering of salacious kindred?
I saw a poster when I went to go talk to Vesper. Not the first time, the second time.
A poster for a blood orgy?
It was in the back room away from where people would be.
Make a habit of attending the Misi-sponsored blood orgies?
No. First and last time.
Why did you go?
Sounded like fun.
And this was before you had the kid, right? I assume you
Yeah.
didn't drag them to a blood orgy.
No, Lord, no.
Pity, maybe you should have. Sounds like she's been sowing some wild oats.
Bo, I'm sorry, this stinks to high heaven. You're not being honest. I mean, you're gonna be on the bench until we figure this out. If not, out of the city. If you're some sort of mystical liability, we need to know what the fuck is going on.
Jeremiah, how much of a read did you get on Bateman? Is it possible this is a game? Maybe August is the leak and they're just trying to cause some struggle?
I wasn't in the room when the topic of the leak was discussed. But if it's August, then August hasn't been around. And this leak has been plaguing us constantly. There's no way. If it was August, they know things that they couldn't know. And unless they are jerking us around in a massive faction and it's somehow me, there's only one option that makes sense.
Well, are there any other gaps in your memory? Time you can't remember? Possible you could have been mentally manipulated in some fashion? The old-fashioned way of doing it, but I know it's still done to this day.
Can I do like a resolve and insight to?
Yeah,
check
I would
myself?
say give me an intelligence and let's do resolve or intelligence and insight. for both of you.
Messy critical and nothing I can do about it.
Okay. You are going to take the paranoia compulsion until you can be somewhere safe. Anything that isn't getting you somewhere safe is at a -2. Okay. As far as you both can tell, although now, Jeremiah, you're not entirely certain, you can't remember a time that you can't remember. At least not within the last several weeks, if not months. The only time that you would have been checked out would have been if you were asleep. And unless there's some sort of newfangled vampire ability that can read your mind while you're sleeping.
I'm sure this place is secure, other than...
Yeah, I'm sure.
We need to wrap this up. The leak is something we'll have to figure out, but he looks over to Bethany.
All right. She's a problem. I'll give you that. And Beau, I am bending over backwards here trying to get you out of this mess because I respect you. And I know you've been loyal to me, at least to a point. So I need you to tell me right now, in all honesty, what you want me to do about this situation. Because the rules of the cam would state both you and her be destroyed. But this isn't the cam. I didn't destroy you for making her. So what do I do? Because unless you're going to somehow become the world's best sire, and I think we both know you're not, I've got a Spitfire on my hands, and even if they are being clever, or so they think, and even though it isn't in our territory, the cam knows. And if they need a scapegoat at any time, they've got one now.
And it's only a matter of time before the wolves sniff it out, too.
She's your sister. She's your child. What would you have me do in a situation like this? I could do exile, but that only bears so much weight. It's a big city.
The only paths I see are getting her out of the state or ending her entirely.
I do have contacts out of state, but it would cost me a great deal, a great many resources. And I'm not sure how far into my debt you want to go, because I like you, but I like my books a lot more.
I ain't willing to go that deep. I've already got pretty sizable debt with you.
Something like this would be a life debt. Just being honest, not being cruel.
I know. I know. You never, as far as I can tell, you never steered me wrong.
Tried not to. You've been doing a bang-up job of that yourself. Blood orgies and...
Yeah.
What about you, Jeremiah? As the unwilling but very much apparent leader of the coterie.
He'll actually look at Bethany for the first time in all of this and say, I don't think you're going to accept anything I'm going to say as anything but cruelty, but I'm trying not to be. Whether we send you away or destroy you, it's going to end up in the same place. You're going to lose yourself one way or the other. This is Beau's fault. I think if we pawn them off on, looking back at Solomon there, if we pawn her off on someone else, then yeah, that's going to be a debt for multiple reasons. The expense incurred, the problems that she creates. If it were my call to make. And I would hate making it. I think the merciful thing is to end it. Not to draw it out.
Bethany actually lifts her eyes off of the floor and meets yours, Jeremiah. I don't think you're being cruel. You're being honest. The cruelty was bringing me into this life. The cruelty was not giving me help when I asked for it. I told you I couldn't get full. Did you find the answer to why? Because I've been looking. That's why there's bodies. No, I was just supposed to stay at home and wait. So no, your decision isn't cruel. It's honest. And here's a little bit more honesty. Even after I'm gone, if you don't get him straight, it's gonna be you at the end of this noose next. Her eyes go back down to the ground. Solomon nods. All right. If you don't want the debt, it leaves me no other choice. Bethany Walker for violation of the Masquerade. I decree that you shall meet final death. Sorry, little girl, I really am. You deserve better than this. He then nods to Doberman. And Doberman walks over and kicks the back of Bethany's knees, dropping her down to her knees. And just as he reaches to grab onto her head, the rain suddenly stops. I need everyone to roll me a composure and intelligence as a booming voice echoes throughout the room. Freeze and don't move. Three successes, four successes. Almost immediately, you feel your muscles tense up and lock into place. You see the same happen to Doberman, who immediately tries to react to the voice, but then ends up going rigid. Even Solomon goes rigid. Out of the parking lot, in the dark, only offering a pool of light from the inside of the garage, the long, nimble form of Vesper approaches. A cancer, am I? A tumor to be cut out. You came to me. You asked for my help. I even offered to take care of her for you. But no. So proud. So smart. So strong. Even after taking my Valdery, you would try to hold your head up as better than me. I fixed your problems. But you decided to make a problem of me. Saying my name to wolves, saying my name to the Camarilla. Don't shit where you eat. And don't meddle in the affairs of elders. But I'm going to do you one more favor. I'm going to take care of one of your problems. One last problem. He walks in front of you over to Bethany and extends a long fingered hand out to her. She breaks from her rigidity and looks up to him. Oh, sweet child. In the world we will make, you can eat your fill. Congratulations, Jeremiah. As he lifts Bethany to her feet. Consider this remission from your cancer. But if you know anything about history and if you know anything about science, cancer comes back. And so shall we. He looks directly at Beau. You will never be rid of me. And he takes Bethany's hand and leads her out of the garage. A few moments pass. The rain begins once more. And you feel the sensation return to your muscles, to your fingers, to your arms. Solomon, for the first time, has no joy or jovial or wry wit in his expression. What have you done?
Thought I was getting free. What does Valdery mean?
Sabbat wanted to get free once too. So they created a ritual, a blood bond to break all other blood bonds. A bond to your pack, to the Sabbat. You, for all intents and purposes, are Sabbat. By that right.
And what little I know of them, I'm guessing that means I'm not long for this unlock.
That's up to you. Plenty of Sabbats became Anarch after the Sabbat fell. Others went to ground, those that weren't killed. If I were you, I'd hide, purge myself of all the blood in my body, and hope beyond hope that the only ones who know about this are in this room. As for me, I'm gonna have to disappear for a little while. Set up shop somewhere else. Sell off most of my assets, because if they know as much as they know, that's where they're gonna hit. I suggest you consider the same. Because it's one thing for the cam to be watching you. They're always watching. There's no surprise in that. But the Sabbat, they don't watch. They burn and they devour. And now, they have your sister. At this point, Solomon just marches out of the garage, gets into the car, Doberman runs over to the driver's seat to catch up with him, and with a squeal of tires, they're gone. Leaving the two of you in an empty garage, needing a ride home.
Jeremiah calls the number of their car service. And heads out into the rain to wait to be picked up.
Doesn't take long. Maybe about 20, 25 minutes as they're coming from Tampa. Come get you. But luckily, it's right off the bridge, so it's not very far. Eventually, they arrive.
Gets in the car.
Eh.
Tells them to drive. Doesn't wait for Beau.
They do. Being a kindred comes with a lot of loss. Loss of humanity. Loss of the life you once knew. It comes with the fangs and the blood and the immortality. But when it's self-imposed loss, through your own actions and your own decisions, it cuts a little deeper, burns a little hotter. And it burns especially hot when it burns those around you. This is the perfect example of why kindred are solitary creatures. Because when they care too hard, they get burned. This is where our story comes to a close this evening, but not without two last scenes. Our first scene takes us to Ybor City, to the base of a stone staircase that once led to a tattoo parlor. But Jeremiah had the right of it to fade, Vesper. Because up at the top of that staircase is a vacant business. No purple sign, no glowing lights, no artwork in the windows. It's as if it never existed, was never there, vanished, gone. In a way, one of your problems was fixed. The dragon is out of Ybor. But what comes in that dragon's wake? The same thing that comes in all dragons' wake. Fire. Our second scene is of that same rainy night. The downpour scattering across the pavement. As a vehicle pulls up outside of a now roped off property that housed a once burned down bar. and out of the back seat gets thrown a figure who goes scattering across the pavement before the car peels off and away. This figure, left in the rain and the wet, doesn't remember his name, his face, or where he's been. At least not yet. As August Artois III looks helplessly at a world he doesn't recognize and a place he doesn't know. This is where our story, or August Adelaide, this is where our story comes to a close. Thank you so much to these amazing players. Thank you to everybody watching at home. Go follow St. Pete by Night on all of that social media you see listed down below, and then follow the Discord link to join our community and sign up for the Ko-fi, where for as low as $5 a month you get access to all kinds of behind the scenes material, including the Rosebud Thorns for this very session. Next week is our last episode before we go on break for a month, so you're really gonna want to tune into that, because if you thought this was climactic, wait until next week. You're gonna really enjoy that, and hopefully we will have a full coterie present for that. But for these amazing players, I'm Kent. Make sure to tune in to Rage Across Tampa and Hellhounds this week, and tune in next week for our last episode before the break of Red Tide Rising. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.